So what does the Supreme Court's abortion ruling mean for Arizona, and what's likely to happen next?
Andrew Turk is the head and chair of the litigation department, Rose Law Group, also a judge pro tem, and he's joining us live. So break it down for us. A lot of questions, a lot of unknowns at this point. What does all of this mean for Arizona?
Well, I think that we're going to have a lot of unknowns for quite some time. We do have the 1901 statute that was mentioned in your teaser. That, of course, has not been in effect during the Roe versus Wade era. But once the Dobbs decision that came down Friday goes into effect, it is arguably the law in the state of Arizona. It's never been overturned. And what that statute says, it's a criminal statute, is that a physician who performs an abortion that is not necessary to save the life of the mother is subject to criminal penalties. We also have a new statute that was signed by Governor Ducey on March 30th that will go into effect 90 days after the end of the legislature. The legislature ended on Friday. So roughly 90 days from today, which will be roughly 65 days after the old statute goes into effect, we will have two statutes that in some ways compete, but the new statute also contains language saying that it doesn't have an intent, that the legislature didn't have an intent to make an abortion that was already illegal, legal. First of all, you're going to have two statutes, and the Attorney General and other prosecutors are going to have to decide how they're going to exercise their prosecutorial discretion and which statute, or whether they're going to enforce both statutes. Then I would anticipate that there's going to be legal cases to determine exactly what that language that I just mentioned in the new statute means, and how it should be interpreted. And then there is other language in the statute that I think needs to be parsed out and tested. And then, of course, I anticipate we're going to have some legislative challenges as well. In Arizona, we do have the right of referendum. So I would also expect that there will be efforts to get probably competing statutes on ballots going forward. So I anticipate that it's going to be a period of significant confusion and lack of clarity for quite some time.
I appreciate all that breakdown, because it's a lot to cover here. And I think what's interesting is, okay, so this battle at the Supreme Court might have ended yesterday. Maybe it starts up again in a new court with new justices. But locally, it's really just beginning, because you're going to have this legislative battle in Arizona. You're going to have a court battle in Arizona. And then likely you're going to have ballot issues that come up out of this. Is this just sort of in the meantime, you're going to see different sort of Planned Parenthood locations handle this differently? Or are we just all going to feel this out for the next several years, maybe, as it all kind of pieces together?
I think it's going to be an evolving process. I'm not really all that familiar with Planned Parenthood's administrative procedures or what they're doing now. I suspect that it is even going to go down to another level, because you're going to have the medical professionals who work for Planned Parenthood and other companies like that, that are going to have to decide for themselves whether they want to expose themselves to potential legal exposure, possible loss of license, which is one of the things that the Arizona statute provides for, potential jail time. So you're going to have the places like Planned Parenthood are also going to have to make decisions based on the availability of professionals to do the things that they want to do. So I think it's going to be a kind of a cascading effect as people figure out exactly how Arizona is going to approach the fact that it has these dual statutes. And then again, as you said, I believe the next legislative session there will probably be new legislation that will be offered, probably attacking this issue from both sides. And then referendums, and there'll be other federal court decisions that may impact this. So I think that we're going to see a lot of change.
So simply put, it may be a silly question, but for people watching, what does this mean tomorrow and the next few days? What will change?
Technically, nothing has changed. Obviously, the the decisions that are being made by Planned Parenthood and other organizations are changing. But the Supreme Court rule has a 25-day period before a decision goes into effect. So the Dobbs decision that was passed down on Friday isn't actually in effect yet, because the Supreme Court rule allows for a rehearing to be requested, which is essentially like an appeal. So right now we are still technically operating under Roe, but
just big picture for a second here as we talk about the court too, and just briefly, because we are running out of time on this, and I appreciate the time you've given us here this morning. This was obviously, this upset, 50 years of precedent from the Supreme Court. How significant is that going forward? Is this a new change in how the Supreme Court operates, or was this just a one-off decision?
There's been a lot of talk that this is a court that is flexing a very conservative muscle, and that it does reflect some change, that it also reflects some change within the individuals in the court and the power bases between for example, the Chief Justice and the two wings of the court. So I think it was also the first full term with the new court with the Trump appointee. So I think we're going to see a lot of change there as well.
Very interesting.
Wow, yeah, a lot to take in.
Yeah, really appreciate your time this morning. Fascinating about the 25 days.
Thanks for
Didn't
having
realize
me.
that. So that's going to be interesting to track too, to see how Planned Parenthood and some of these organizations handle that. Appreciate the time. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.